Okay, welcome to an episode of It's Not What You Think. This is Rick.
And this is Darren.
And we are going to listen to a Mass in its entirety. Masses run pretty long, so
Yes.
sit back and listen to this. Although, I got a cool surprise. The Electric Prunes, an old 60s rock and roll band, composed this Mass. It's called a Mass in F minor.
Interesting. Okay.
And it goes through all of the traditional Kyrie. We'll start off with a Kyrie song.
Okay.
All right. What do you think of that one?
That was cool.
Yeah.
It felt very 60s.
It did. It felt very 60s. It also felt very monastic.
Yeah. The way they were singing was pretty consistent with what we've heard of the more traditional masses. It's just accompanied with this like 60s sort of hippie
electric
music.
guitar.
Yeah.
Hippie music. There you go.
But I mean, I of all of the rock masses that we've heard so far, this is the most vocally authentic. I can't say the music is obviously authentic.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
But
they certainly went for that.
Yeah, they didn't deviate. I was trying to pick up on whether it started with a soloist and then they came on with a choir. It's sort of consistent with how the mass is generally sung, but it didn't seem. It seemed like they maybe had reverb on the vocals or something, or maybe they just doubled the vocals. But I couldn't tell if they were. So I'd be interested to see if they follow that sort of pattern moving forward.
Okay.
But in Latin, with very minimal melismas, I'd say so far so good.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to do some research during the break and
Yeah,
let our audience know a little bit about them because they're not like
definitely
the Rolling Stones.
definitely
or the Who,
not a
you know?
household name. The
Nah,
Electric Prunes.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. And what an odd choice of fruit.
I
You know,
know.
it's not the electric peaches. It's not the electric, cucumbers.
Yeah.
It's the prunes.
Yeah, really. It's
All right.
I guess for the monastically constipated.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next one.
All right.
that was the Gloria, and I really like that one.
I did too.
That was really cool.
It was really neat. There were some really cool like guitar solos and
bass solos.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah, I beat you.
Yeah, really. but again, the vocals are pretty consistent.
And you know, I was reading up on the notes regarding this particular album, and it said that when the band came to record it, they realized that it was too complex for them, so a lot of them kind of bowed out. I don't understand what the complexity was. They're like, guitar solo.
Yeah.
All right, bass solo. Okay, so, we're done.
Apparently, in one time where they played this live, it was such a disaster that they had a whole orchestra. They had cellos, and they had 4 celli and some trumpets and French horns, and they didn't know what was going on, so they went over to the orchestra section and just said, jam in E, and they just jammed for this whole song in E. It was such a disaster when they played it.
Oh, man.
Which I guess is the reason why they had a brief stint, 1965 to 1970, and then they reformed again in 1999. They still play today.
Well, they're still going.
They're still going.
Go check out their latest album.
Yeah.
They have Us, I believe.
Yeah, they have a website. What was it? Electricprunes67.com. Go check them out.
And they have got a tribute album called California Prunes.
Good.
It's almost like a joke, but it's pretty good music.
It is pretty good music,
yeah.
I have to say.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's, aside from the fact that it is a mass, I'd say musically, if you had taken somebody who knew nothing about the Catholic Mass and you said, this is an example of 60s music, I think they would take away what 60s music sounded like.
Yeah,
pretty consistently, so.
Well, the Credo is the next part in our Mass.
All right, let's give it a listen.
All right. there's an old, I'm about to say 70s, but I don't know for sure. I think it's 70s. Movie called Easy Rider. Never saw it. But it's like a motorcycle movie about a guy riding across country, I think, that type of thing. They use one of the tracks on this album as the soundtrack of the movie.
How about that?
Yeah, the Curie, I'm pretty sure. So, despite the fact that you and I have never heard of these guys, there are people out there who have.
Yeah, I mean, good. To be honest with you, good, because their music is pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I can honestly imagine myself putting this record on and just listening.
You know, I just generally like 60s music.
Yeah. You know, what's cool about this particular album is it's literally just a 60s jam band.
Yeah.
Paying, it seems to me like paying an homage to traditional mass chanting.
That's exactly what it is.
And the music is good.
Yeah.
The music is good and the singing is good. The end of the credo there with the harmonies.
That was really cool.
That was really nice.
Punched it up to...
Yeah. And then the glory of that little like bass solo part. We both were like, whoa, that was pretty cool. So the music is really good.
It is very good.
So ambitious as this album may have been for them to play, I think they pulled it off.
They really did. And we got a Sanctus coming up.
Ah, okay.
Let's give that a listen.
Yeah.
Sanctus, Sanctus. Sanctus, 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 Dominus, Dominus, Deus Sabaoth. Sanctus, 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 Dominus, Dominus, Deus Sabaoth. Sanctus, 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 Dominus, Dominus, Deus Plene sunt caeli et terra gloria tua, Hosanna in excelsis. Plene sunt caeli et terra gloria tua, Hosanna in excelsis. Plene sunt caeli et terra gloria tua, Hosanna in excelsis. Plene sunt caeli et terra gloria tua, Hosanna
I thought that one rocked out on the vocals more than the previous tracks.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it started getting into like this really rocking. And you know, I was thinking, because the melody and the vocals started to stick in my head, this would be a great way to learn Latin. I mean, because you know how music gets stuck in your head.
This would also be a great way to learn the Mass.
Yeah, that's true.
The Latin Mass. I mean, honestly, if modern Catholics, if we were to listen to this music, I think would probably like it.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because again, I mean, like you said, the vocals they sound good.
Yeah.
It sounds good. It sounds the music's good.
Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, that's really great.
It's catchy.
Yeah, no.
And I can't get over how well they put this together. The jams are good.
Yeah.
The jams are good.
Now, speaking of the jams, I looked at the personnel, and we got standard rock and roll fare of lead vocals, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass guitar, here's your 3 guitars, and drums.
Yep.
There's no keyboards, but I do hear other instruments. Like, I thought there was an electronic organ.
Like a synth, yeah.
And then I thought there was, like, some horns. And then even at one point, it could have been a bell, but I don't think it was a bell.
Oh,
I
the
think
crater.
I think they were trying to emulate a bell.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I think it was like feedback, just nah.
Could be. Pink Floyd did a lot of that. The whole album of Animals, the animal noises are all made by instruments. So they could be trying to do something similar where they're trying to emulate a bell by doing the feedback with their guitar.
That I'm almost positive, but I could have sworn this last track there were like not English horns, French horns. And maybe they just don't give them credit.
That might be.
It might be like studio musicians.
They said when they tried to perform it live, they had the orchestral section.
Yeah.
And within that was French horns.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought somebody in to record French horns.
Right.
Album, especially in those days, the studio album and the live performance would be so radically different because they were exposed to so many new technologies now, like synthesizers,
right.
Playing with feedback and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did pull some people in just to do the French horns. Mm-hmm. But again, on the subject of the Mass, I can't get over how like genuine they're staying to the vocals at least.
Yeah. We have 2 more tracks. I'm trying to remember without looking. After the Sanctus, there's Agnus Dei.
Agnus Dei. Yep.
There's something before the Sanctus.
There is. I don't remember. Not the Benedictus, is it?
Yeah.
The Benedictus.
Yeah.
We've been doing this long enough. I should know.
Yeah, exactly.
Benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini. Benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini. Benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini.
Okay, that was the Benedictus.
Yeah. Again, super cool.
Yeah, very much so. And I was reading up, and this particular album was written by a guy named David Axelrod.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he performed on it, but he wrote it because he's a classically trained musician slash composer, and so he really knew what he was doing. So I think that's why you and I are so in love with the fact that this really emulates the Gregorian chant.
Yeah.
In many ways.
So the composer probably was pretty well versed
Yeah.
in all the history of music. Would
Yeah.
have been a subscriber to It's Not What You Think.
That's right. He would have been one of our highest backing.
Definitely, he would be
subscribers.
commenting on every single video.
Yeah, I think so.
Like and comment, you know.
Yeah.
But again, really cool. And you found something else about the band.
I did, and I'm going to save that for later.
Oh, okay. All right. Spoiler alert, you got to stick around to the end to find out the fact about the Electric Prunes that we both discovered, and were pretty taken aback by it. Didn't realize.
All right, so we'll listen to the Agnus Dei.
Yes.
that was the Agnus Dei.
Really cool, and definitely there's horns.
Oh yeah, and there was such a great rock element to the da 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 da. You know, I had this. How do I say it? It had this like old school church mode melody, but it had like a rock rhythm to it.
There was a little swing to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I really like that.
I like this entire album.
I'm gonna be singing it to myself and nobody else.
I know, same. I'm gonna be humming. Da, na, 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 na. It was cool.
Yeah,
it was. And I'll tell you what, if you can find a press,
what's it in the car with the windows rolled up?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you can find a press of this album, I bet it would be worth some money. I would pay for it if there's someone out there who's got an Electric Prunes copy
Vinyl,
of
right?
yeah,
That would be kind of cool.
Mass in F minor.
Yeah.
I would 1,000% buy it.
Mm-hmm. Do you still listen to vinyl?
I do. In fact, thick as a brick is in my car right now.
That's a CD though.
No, it's a vinyl.
I
mean, I bought it. The vinyl.
You have the player like in your trunk and it's going. You just make sure you don't hit a bump, right? Oh, you literally just bought it and it's in the car.
I have the vinyl.
Yeah, well, one of my friends kind of revived me to listen to vinyl again, and my wife and I.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah, we are starting a collection, recollecting or
Nice.
restocking our collection of vinyl. So
I think you got to find the Electric Prunes Mass in F minor.
I think that's on my list next.
Got to find it.
So we found out that Kenny Loggins used to be a member of the Electric Prunes.
Yep.
And when I say used to be a member, we're using that very liberally. What happened was actually during the tour of this particular album, some of the guys kind of crapped out because I think financially, whenever you got an orchestra involved, and you have to pay all those people, now you're like splitting your earnings by 100.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And so I think a lot of the guys were disillusioned. We're like, we didn't join rock and roll to earn $100, which is I think what you said they were
$100 a week.
$100 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So they split. But then the rest of the group were like, well, we need to finish our tour. And then Kenny Loggins jumped in and said, hey, I'll finish it for you. And him and another guy finished the tour with them. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I just found an interview with James Lowe, who's the lead singer, one of the founding members. I think the last founding member still alive.
Mm-hmm.
They were working with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, and this is just from October of last year.
Wow.
So
they're current.
Yeah, they're still around. Although he did say that this will be their last release, and then he's going to hand the reins off to his son, who has his own band.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So the Electric Prunes may have ended in 2024. Unsure. They may have one more song for 25, but.
All right. Well. We dedicate ourselves to the history of music, but if that comes across, if we come across a new Electric Prunes, we'll have to put it up here.
Definitely.
All right.
Just to pay homage to their mass.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and that wraps up this week's episode.
That wraps up the mass.
That's all we have left to say.
Let us know in the comments which of these was your favorite song, and if you know anything else about the Electric Prunes, pop it in the comments. Stay tuned.